Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Beekler. I am alive in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and I'm with my good friend Dennis Pathalkas in San Diego. What is up, Dennis?
I am semi-live in San Diego.
Semi-live. You sound like you just woke up from a nap.
No, I have not. It's just hot again. Still,
Yeah.
still recovering from that shit.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, you're here we are live on our website right now. We do these recordings live on our website, then we take them back down, edit them, put them up on the YouTube channel. But if you're one of the few people who comes over and takes a look, how's it going? You'll see all the rough stuff. We're going to
It's like watching the sausage being made.
It is like watching the sausage being made. We're here recapping Preacher, episode 12, penultimate episode, On Your Knees. And it turns out that Dennis and I are going to completely disagree on this episode. So
Yes,
let's get into it. To recap, where we stand right now is Eugene and Hitler are escaping from hell. The Saint of Killers has escaped the armored car from the swamp via the Grail and Hoover. And we get a little flashback on that, which was interesting. And Jesse and Cassidy and Tulip are still just kind of like tweakers in an apartment. Jesse did go find out that God was indeed, or he thinks God was Mandog. Yes. And he's really disheartened about it. Hairstar offered him a deal to get rid of Hupperdo, the 25th grandson of Christ, who is an idiot and an imbecile, and replace him with Jesse. And Jesse has turned down the offer flatly. So Hairstar has gone to plan B, which is Hoover freeing the Saint of Killers. And we're going to assume extracting the part of Jesse's soul. Mm-hmm. So they didn't give us a definitive answer on that. So the episode starts out by going back quite a ways, and we get to see
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. But we spend the first 20 minutes of the episode with the Saint of Killers.
Well, actually, we started off with the hell, with Hitler and Eugene escaping from hell, using the back door out of the hole, if you will. And basically, in order to get out of hell, you need to, quote unquote, exorcise your demons or just kind of, accept them for what they are and realize that, I guess what it was that Eugene had to finally come to grips with people like Tracy being a conceited, selfish person. Then out of nowhere, his camp counselor, who I guess molested him, and killing that person, and that was dressed up as a mascot for some reason. It was kind of odd. And then finally his father, who was trying to blame him for everything, and finally realizing that he loved his dad and his dad loved him. And that's when the back door to hell opened up there.
Yeah, so it basically, hell is of your own making. She ends up killing herself anyway.
Yes.
But after he says, fuck you, it's not my fault. And his dad says he loves him, which is an odd thing for hell to allow to happen. And his dad has the same injury that he does. So it's Arseface dad. Yeah. And I was expecting Jesse to come walking through that door. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I was a little surprised to see Father coming through that door. And Hitler, is like, hurry up, come on,
Yeah.
And it's weird seeing Hitler in a suburban bedroom, modern day suburban bedroom.
I did love the exasperation on his face when they flipped it a little bit, and oh, you want to be friends? Tracy's like, oh, you want to be friends? Well, why don't you show it to me? And Hitler's like, ah, shit.
Oh God. But apparently he did the right thing by showing his very inconsequential wiener that disappointed her completely and made her kill herself anyway. So wow, that's humbling. So then we roll in the credits. Then we get to our Saint of Killer scene. And they switch the armored cars, and he's punching his way, trying to punch his way out. It says 1 week later, and we see Hoover, in the front of the armored car, gets on the PA system and offers them a deal. And he doesn't come out and say it. We're just going on assumption that there is one way. We're offering you one chance, which you're not going to get to heaven. You're not going to see your family, but I'm offering you the next best thing. Now we don't automatically know what the next best thing is. We assume it's going after Jesse, but I don't think that's it.
I don't think it is either. And also, Hoover picked up the book on the soul machine, and he was highlighting different portions of it, which I was assuming was what he used to extract Jesse's 1% of his soul that's in the Saint of Killers. But then the Saint of Killers also was eyeballing a whole bunch of the souls that were left with him, those portions of souls that were left inside the truck, which I'm thinking he has a habit of pocketing things, as we saw later on in the episode. I'm thinking he might have pocketed a few of those souls.
Time out. What's up, buddy? Come here. Good night. Good night. We're gonna have to edit this one, obviously. So it's all right. It's live. That was my son saying good night. Yeah, you know, and when he looked back at that, he also was. We got the flashback a little bit more. Got to know more about his wife and his family, and he did almost crack a smile. He's really verbose this episode. He talks quite a lot. We see that it was a good woman who kind of mellowed him out after his killing ways. And she said that the soul is where the goodness lies, which gets repeated quite a bit.
Yep.
And
no foreshadowing there at all.
Yeah, none whatsoever. So that's the point where, you know, again, we assume his soul got Jesse's soul got extracted with all the highlighting, and we heard the noise, but they don't show it. So there's a reason for that I'm sure we'll find out at the very end of the next episode. But we don't find out this episode. The Saint of Killer does indeed, after 2 weeks, get out, and we catch up. Basically, you know, and they do a bunch of flashbacks and like reused footage, and then, you know, newer footage of the family. But we're 23 minutes in. I noted that down before we even see Jesse. We see Jesse just for a moment sitting on
the couch, exactly,
sitting on the couch looking dejected, and then it gets back to the Saint of Killers. And, you know,
it was a very odd editing, you know, style for that. It was really weird, just kind of inserting him sitting on the couch dejected there, and then going back to the Saint of Killers. It just seemed really random and out of place.
Yeah, it seemed like an editor or producer said, you know, we need to show Jesse at some point. I would have left it out.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, like that. I don't know if they showed that shot last episode, but I mean, it didn't do anything for me. And if I would have just left it out, because it had more impact coming back to Jesse. I don't mind them not being in the episode that long. I think it's actually good. And that worked for me. And we get to Tulip and Cassidy when we finally, like I said, 23 minutes in, and they're both over Jesse. They're just like, screw this. Let's, you know, get out of here. Yeah, we're worried about him, but, you know, Cassidy's hiding. You know, the only drama in the house is the dog going to get eaten by Dennis, and Cassidy's, you know, putting him in a drawer, which, you know, I don't know. That's really good for the dog. I'm sure he's safe inside a drawer. But, oh yeah. And then Dennis is like looking in his room for the dog. So, you know, I kind of was thinking Dennis would bite it this episode, and he didn't. And there really wasn't a lot with them. The theme of the episode kind of caught up with like what these two have been all season, is along for the ride and not very useful. And these are two great characters that have been really underused this season. And it kind of sums it up this episode. Like, what good are you? You know, not to get too ahead of myself, but that's kind of what happens, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we have the Saint of Killers. He finally shows up, and basically starts taking out. I mean, the preacher shows up to the apartment. Let me step back 1 second there. Preacher shows up to the apartment just as they're discussing about leaving and going to Bimini, and because they don't know where Jesse is, and he all of a sudden, Cassie's like, he'll be back. He's always back. And sure enough, the preacher comes in. So Cassidy and preacher go and get something to drink. Tulip decides to take get rid of Cassidy's finger that's laying underneath the stove and toss that out. And as she's walking back from the garbage disposal, that's where we see Saint of Killers come up the stairs and basically asking the same question, preacher, you know, and She won't tell him. She tries to fight him. He knocks her out. He goes in. He's walking around the apartment. Takes some rope from from a mini blind. Finds Dennis, knocks Dennis out. Well, actually breaks Dennis's neck.
Yep.
And then Cassidy goes inside to go get something, and we see the preacher go in, and he's sitting down at the front of the TV to go and get a smoke, and we see Cassidy get thrown down the hallway, and that's when this weird book from Dan Quayle falls from the ceiling.
Well, it was on the table anyway, and they used the Dan Quayle book as a weapon, which I noticed down, which was great.
Yeah.
But what you also missed there is when, number one, when the Saint of Killers gets to Tulip, he inexplicably doesn't kill her again. I guess he's just not into killing women. But this is what's rad about Tulip. We finally saw Tulip, the Tulip we've been waiting for, when she knows she's taken on this god of death, and she's really pissed at Jesse, but she still tries to stop him. She's like, no fucking way. And she goes after him, gets her, and knowing she's going to get her ass kicked. I mean, that is a woman. Okay. Right there. That is a freaking woman. I was like, yeah, you go, girl. Yeah, she got her ass kicked, but A for effort on that one, going out for your man, even when you're pissed at him, even when he's been lying to you, even when you have a shadowy organization trying to break you up with him, you still go after and try to stop him, which I thought was badass. But the funniest thing was I watched these things with my subtitles on, and you got to go back and rewatch the scene where the Saint of Killers is walking around looking for a weapon, and Cassidy and Jesse are deep in a foreskin conversation,
yeah,
which is
heard.
hilarious. And he's starting out by talking about the most what was it? Cassidy was talking about the most evil people and the hardest people in the world are the Dutch ops. The Dutch secret ops are just not to be fucked with. And they're the ones who are in deep with this foreskin, which is essentially a female fight club that is happening in Europe that collects these foreskins to put in some kind of a drink or some shit like that. I didn't catch all of it, and I got to go back and rewatch it, but it was a
well, he's talking about some kind of yogurt, and then he says, is that kind of like cannibalism in a way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was catching it as he was doing it.
But he's it's like a female fight club, and there's 10-to-1 foreskins in this drink. And I'm just laughing my ass off while the ominous music thing is going on. And then when Cassidy walks down the hallway, then you just see him go, ah!
he just kind of goes, ah! And you see him go flying
over. You see Cassidy's ass go flying across the freaking thing. That was hilarious, dude. And then Jesse's like, and he kind of figures it out, and he tries to use his voice again, and his voice isn't working. Okay. And the Grail isn't aware of this. I don't think Jesse's aware of this. He thinks he took like a throat shot or something like that. I don't know what.
Well, he gets punched in the throat. Yeah. Right after he tries, and that his voice kind of gives out, and then he gets punched in the throat by the Sandoval Killers.
But that has nothing to do with this voice cussing out. I'll tell you that right now. That's got zero to do. It's got what's coming up to the end. And Dennis has said that this secretly has been renewed for a third season.
Yes, that's what we've heard. That everything's going in production for season 3 already. They're already doing pre-production, and they've secured the locations and all that kind of stuff. And it's staying in New Orleans for another season.
Good. Well, and to flip back when Hoover and why am I forgetting her name now? Featherstone are watching Tulip, or was it Tulip and Cassidy argue? Yeah. They're like, Tulip, this is worse than waterboarding. And honestly, some of these spinning the wheel scenes I can agree with. So they get in this fight, and then there's a great scene between the Saint of Killers and Jesse and the whole scalping thing, which was just completely creepy. And he's like sharpening his knife on his shoe, trying to make it sound like a knife scraping against a skull. And he's describing the guy from what's the name of that town? Ratville or something like that.
Ratville. Yeah, I can't remember what it was called.
From the name of that, the western town that he goes and kills everybody, and the scalp, I think it was Apache scalps and Comanche scalps. Sorry. And describing a conversation he had with the man, like the only sound he could ever hear in his sleep was just the sound, and the only thing that got him off was the sound of like ripping skull, or
Wet
skin off from skulls, which sounds like wet sheets ripping on a table or something like that, but not
being ripped.
Yeah. And it really, I mean, he like starts to scalp Jesse, and he gets a little bit off, and then all of a sudden, Deus Ex Machina Hell pops out of nowhere, and
the warden from hell,
hell saves Jesse on the orders of Hair Star, and the Saint of Killers just goes with her. Now she does threaten to put the members of his family from heaven into hell, which I don't know how they can do. Since God is gone, and the Saint just goes. So I would hope there's something more to it. The Saint does whisper in Jesse's ear, another time maybe, but I would hope there's something more to it than that. I'm not too sure, but he just goes to hell, and he just when he goes to his cell, he says, I want to have a word with Satan, which I hope they do next episode, because there's something that kind of goes down in the comic, which is interesting, which I think they might kind of flip back and do, which would be very cool.
This is what I'm saying. We're now 40 minutes in, probably a little bit more, 45 minutes in at this point. And quite honestly, all this took place for nothing, really. I mean, it was taken care of a little too cleanly, a little too easily. And it's kind of like how the season's been going, where the first two episodes are really good. We're breakneck speed. And then once we hit New Orleans, we hit quicksand, honestly. And it's just been spinning its wheels and just going slowly ever since. And I think it goes back to budget. I don't think they got the budget that they wanted. So they were trying to deal with characters more than set pieces. And for me, I really, about midway through this episode, that's where I kind of realized this isn't working. This series isn't working until they get back on the road, or just basically get back to the storyline of finding God. Because honestly, this other stuff, or go to Angelville, something other than just spinning wheels on, okay, we've got the Saint of Killers coming in, but we're not going to do anything with it.
Well, I mean, Angelville could get stuck in the mud too.
Yeah,
not the bad pun. I don't want a whole season of Angelville.
No.
We miss the Angels. There's certain characters from season 1 we definitely miss, but there is a couple that are coming back, I believe. I don't know if Jack Earl Haley is it Jack Earl Haley?
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah. Jackie Earl Haley is going to come back or not. His character does come back. So yeah, I don't know what that. This episode was fine with me. I don't know. It really depends on, for me, the series depends on next episode. It had a definite lull in the middle. And the first 2 episodes were so great. It set a pace that this series has not, it's kind of a deal they made with us that they didn't keep up on,
No, yeah.
They made a promise like, hey, we've taken season 1 and we've kind of upped it a little bit, but then, you blew your wad all at once, which kind of sucks. Well, I didn't hate this episode, and I think the series totally works, but maybe it needs to go somewhere else. Just the things I'm hearing from AMC, I don't know if I trust them as a network anymore. And you got to build that kind of trust as a network, but a lot of these cable networks are starting to get their asses handed to them by Amazon Prime and Netflix, and I think we're seeing the first signs of this. And that would suck that our only hope of properties could be possibly going to HBO or Netflix or Amazon Prime. I don't want there to be 3 places our TV shows are going. That's horrible. So yeah,
hopefully CBS All Access. We've got DC coming up.
They'll last 6 months to a year. What's going to keep those things? What's going to keep CBS All Access afloat is that damn Big Brother. That's going to be
Survivor.
And Survivor. That's going to be the thing that keeps it afloat. For the same 100,000 people who watch it. So Tulip. And as I spoke about before, Tulip and Cassidy meet Hairstar. You know,
They're
after
taken
they
away by an ambulance that is owned by Grail Industries, which we
Grail
see.
Industries. And you know they've only started doing interesting things. You can do so many things with Grail. The Grail Industries controlling everything is something you could have a lot of fun with, and I feel like they haven't done enough with that yet.
Yeah.
Like you know, grabbing him in a hospital. You could make this a sci-fi horror spy thriller, like easily, because you've got this. You know, you've got it's like a supernatural superhero taking on Spectre. You know, that's you could do something like that. You know. It'd be fun, but you know, so right now they haven't done much, and you know, his voice is inept, and they need to explain that. Like, they need to show like somebody with an Angelville tattoo or somebody. They need to explain that. Sorry, spoiler warnings, but that's what's behind his voice. So Tulip and Cassidy are basically told by Hairstar that they are useless, which he might have gone, you know, a little meta on this one and just said, yes, like you have been this whole season, you know. Especially Cassidy, man.
I love Cassidy's interaction with Hairstar on this. My
Yep.
God, you're unattractive.
Yeah, I know. There was some of the best stuff. Or no, way back, his best line was when Jesse comes back, is like, I need a beer. And he's all, now that's leadership. You know?
I did like when his ass is just sticking out of the wall after the Santa Killers gets taken away.
Padre,
a little help here, please.
Yep. You know, yeah, there's hints of greatness in it, you know, but it's just not, it's not, and yeah, it was such a playback. You know, this episode was, okay, let's rewind a little bit, get caught up. That stuff you could have actually sprinkled through the last couple episodes to actually speed the pace up. So it's more than evident that they ran out of script, out of budget, and it's, you know, hopefully if it comes back next season, do 8 episodes. I mean, like if it's going to get a bigger budget and make things go a little faster, I am totally cool with 8. I don't need 13.
Yep.
You know,
especially since you've seen, it seems like there's about 3 or 4 of these episodes that were totally filler.
You know, and a lot of people ask, especially there shouldn't be filler in a 13 episode season, but you know, Doctor Who does it all the time, and a lot of these series do it all the time. And the reason being is they want 13 episodes in a certain amount of budget because it employs a certain amount of workers. And it also keeps your show out there for a good 2.25 months, 2.5 months, instead of 2 months or a month and a half. So it's in the ether, it's in the air. People are talking about it. People are doing recaps about it and stuff. That's why, you know, I talked about last podcast about, you know, binge watching and dumping everything at once. Things are just gone too quick. And especially when it's commercial TV, you know, you're also selling more advertising time. So you get a lot more money out of 13 episodes than you do of 8. I think this would be better. I think you can compromise and do 10. I think it'd be fine at 10, but you need to introduce. I would start going crazy with introducing preacher characters. I would just bring in, I mean, especially with season 3, go for broke. If you want to go character study, then bring in as many characters as you can.
Well, see, again, I think they're getting hampered by their budget. Which is
them. Hire actors. I mean, just don't hire a bunch of no names, you know, and sprinkle them in. You can do an ensemble piece, you know. You're paying, you know, your stars a lot of money, but you know, if they're guest stars, they're not getting full blown series money. So I mean, that's just a way around it. And there will be a much bigger cast with Angelville, and the Grail, and the Santa Killers. But the Santa Killers, I think they've kind of put him away. Unless he does what I think he's going to do next episode, which, well, we'll just talk about it next episode. It's something that happens in the comics. I kind of off screen, but it happens.
I did like, we go back to Jesse watching TV and the Pope is addressing everyone. Yes. And he's trying to tell the populace that God is missing from everyone's hearts. It's basically the way he's going about it. He's saying that God is gone and that Jesus, or a reasonable approximation, is coming.
Yes, a reasonable facsimile will be, you know, it's coming. Yes. You
know, to set up the reign of Jesse.
Yeah, the reign of Jesse. And, you know, Jesse isn't the smartest tool in the shed, you know, and he's not really good at talking and such. So when Tulip asks him, like, what are we good for? He can't answer because he's not very good at articulating stuff, period. He's a thug. He's basically a thug turned preacher. And then he goes back to Hairstar alone, and Hairstar bows to him. And he has his hand on Hairstar's lovely shorn head.
Going back to that whole scene in the diner, which actually works for me, that was my favorite scene, was the three of them sitting in the diner talking. And it starts off with Cassidy going, no, really, I did. I saw it. I was camping. I got up in the middle of the night by the fire, and there it was. It was just down there like, and she goes, what, licking ice cream?
Yeah.
And he goes, where do you get licking ice cream from that? It was drinking water from the river.
And a unicorn. Of course, they're talking about a unicorn.
And she goes, well,
Cassidy.
That's true, because ice cream would make you thirsty.
Yeah. And that's the kind of scene we should have had more of. Those just little conversations in a car on the road. Now you can still do a series and not have to be okay. You can be in one location and pretend it's other locations.
Exactly. And be on the road.
I mean, like they used to do all the time. There's lots of places in Southern California that look like other places.
You could use green screen behind the car, make the car move a little bit,
Dude,
and
Malibu Beach was Korea for an entire series. Okay. Yeah. You can do it. A hit series.
Yeah.
So.
And also we'd have another Cassidy line, which I thought was good too, is rotating kinky gods since the beginning of time. No, it's okay. We don't need any more of that.
Yeah. Yep. Fun fact, Malibu Canyon is a campground you can go to, and there are still 2 MASH vehicles left over from the series. They're rusted out, but you can go walk right up to them if you want. It's $15 a night. Malibu Canyon State Campground. Great place to camp. There you go. There's my California public message for you. So light on the Cassidy quotes. It was light on Dennis, thank God. No offense. And
not me, but the French Dennis.
I fully expect him to die. And so Eugene, so we get that great scene with Eugene at the beginning, and then it just cuts back to them really quick going through another tunnel, and they're passing over other people's hell. And that's a pretty disturbing scene. You got one guy.
They're climbing through the duct, basically the air duct above.
And you're going above each cell, and one guy's getting killed because he cheated on his wife. And then one cell, you hear a bunch of babies crying, which is creepy as hell. And then the next one was the Saint of Killers. And you're hearing it, the repeated that the soul is where the goodness lies, and stay here and just come back with your horse or whatever. And that's where it leaves it with them. So that's something that has just been drawn way, dude. For one, if Hitler actually escapes hell, that would be an interesting story. If you go with that, I think that would be awesome. So, and how you deal with that, like what is Hitler at that point? He's not a person. So is he a demon? Like what is your comic book classification at that point? I would say probably demon. I mean, because can you kill somebody who's already died and gone to hell?
Yeah, see, I don't know, because he's just a soul at that point, whereas Eugene is actually a person. He's still a body. So
he's a body, he's a person. Is Hitler a corporeal soul or not? Is he a ghost?
I don't know.
Well, these are things I need explained to me. Okay. I mean, I'll accept.
I don't think they know either.
Is he a unicorn?
He might be. He might be ice cream.
Hitler turns into a unicorn that shits ice cream, I will then consider this the greatest show in the world. Oh man. And this is a world, mind you, with no Tom Cruise or Harry Connick Jr., who they've killed the last 2 seasons.
Which isn't Harry Connick Jr. See, that was one thing too, is they killed him. He's in New Orleans, but doesn't Harry Connick Jr. live in San Francisco still?
I don't know. I've never seen him, but I don't go anywhere. So,
well, I know he's up in Seacliff, is where he the same place where Robin Williams used to live, up in Seacliff. Oh,
okay. It's a good trick or treating area for sure. It's where the rich folk pass out lots of candy.
Yep.
So
your San Francisco tourist.
That's your San Francisco tourist guide. Yeah. Screw the bridges and definitely don't go down to Pier 39. That's crap. That's a tourist trap, man. Go to Seacliff on Halloween and trick or treat. You'll get like full on candy bars. Trust me. We used to
And
go to
Chase
Rob
Benoit.
Williams' house, and his daughter used to pass out candy. She was super nice. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to find out next episode what the hell's going on. I think the script will get flipped a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Tulip and Cassidy, the two characters I do care the most about. Jesse has turned into a bit of an idiot this season. He's turned into a complete lying idiot this season, which he does a little bit in the comics, but never for long periods of time. So, there's a method to Jesse's madness. Okay.
Well, also just wanting to stick around New Orleans. And still, I mean, it just because he thinks that Man Dog is God, and yeah, it's just all kinds.
I could see him being like just completely, disheartened by that and disillusioned and slow crushing, especially to somebody who believes in God and is a Christian. I think they went kind of light on that. That would send somebody, especially a man who's devoted his life or wanted to devote his life to it. That would lead you straight to drinking and horn, if anything would. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. That there's super inconsistencies in writing. I like this episode. You didn't. It wasn't the best by far. It's a long way from season 1. It's a long way from these first 2 seasons, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, I think one of our viewers on YouTube even said it best, that they said from our last review that the last episode was the first time they didn't catch it live and just kind of waited until it replayed, I believe it was, or they watched it on demand or something like that, because they're kind of losing faith in the series. It's not fun for them anymore, basically, and they're just kind of watching it because they've gone this far and just to kind of finish out the season. And that's kind of where I'm heading as well at this moment. I want to see what this last episode is going to be like, if it redeems itself in any way. Otherwise, I'm thinking if it doesn't redeem itself with something kind of living up to those first 2 episodes, that I'm kind of going down on this one, on this series.
Yeah, I'll wait till next episode to make a decision. But yeah, it's not looking good right now, ladies and gentlemen. They need to do something. But a series can rally. There can be a kick-ass episode, and then we'll have a debate on like what the hell did we do that whole middle part for. But that's if you do an like amazing jaw-dropping episode next week, it changes our entire attitude on the series. Neither of us will say it's their best, but it could change it to where, okay, man, I can't wait for season 3. So they got an hour to do that. So do it. And yeah, I'm going to say something crazy. I hope Seth Rogen directs this episode and writes this, because the ones he touches are the best. And honestly, maybe that's where his best talents lie, to be honest with you.
Maybe.
Yeah. Not to say, dude, he's a totally talented guy. Just because like he's not my cup of tea all the time, although I don't like dig my cup of coffee all the time. I respect the man's talent. So so we will be back next Monday for the Preacher season finale. We are throughout the week. I'm going to be sprinkling in. We are reviewing The Tick, which is greatness, which is just greatness. If you are not watching The Tick right after you're done watching us, go to Amazon Prime. Hopefully you remember, and stream it. It is absolutely worth it. It is unbelievably good. Unbelievably
and it's
good.
Short.
And it's short. Too short.
6 episodes, and they're each like 28 minutes long. So
you can watch it in a night easily, and it's worth your time. It's better don't go the Inhumans. Stay at home, watch The Tick. Don't do anything. Stay at home, watch The Tick. It's probably the best thing out right now. We're also going to give the Orville a shot. Next Sunday, the Orville premieres on Fox.
Yes. Yep.
We're going to give it a shot because it looks like the best Star Trek series coming out this year.
Yes.
Yeah, and we also got
I was going to say, remember, please keep semen away from fur.
Yes. Please. We're also got our flagship podcast. We just did episode 104 where we break down the news of the day, the latest deaths, but mainly we break down all the craziness going on in the DC extended universe and our thoughts on where it's going to go. And that's episode 104. That's our main podcast that can be found with all of our videos and podcasts at nerdrotic.com. And all of our links are in the description below. Dennis, anything else?
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
And may the small folks sing songs of your greatness. See you in a couple days with the tick.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to a Nerdrotic podcast. Please subscribe.